Hello and welcome to another garden walk with me for this Bulblog video diary. I thought, as it's coming up the Easter weekend, thought what better, daffodils seem to be the appropriate flower to start with. These are just some of the large trumpets. We don't have many of the large trumpets, we instead preferring to stick with the smaller ones. But the garden's really waking me up now. It's getting to that stage that I really like, where we're getting all sorts of plants coming through, and the intense ground cover that we use, using different things, different types of plants to create ground cover, and then planting plants so they come up through it. So you really don't see the ground in many places at all. But you get these lovely combinations of the cowslips and the corydalis, some corydalis hanging on, they'll soon be all over. The erythroniums, they're just coming out. There's a mass of them around here. Lots to come in coming weeks, and I've no doubt I'll do another walk when the erythroniums are out. But just everywhere, if I just stand in this position and spin around some of the areas, I'll head up to this area here, but I'll go around the long way as we move back, just going around some of the areas that regulars will be familiar with, some of these views. Coming up to the nearer the house. Just the same everywhere, ground cover. The area I've got a problem with just now is because up in the tree here, this is where one of the trees where we feed the birds, and unfortunately we've been getting a big heap of town pigeons coming in, eating what the birds drop underneath, and you can see the effect that it's trampling everything. Excuse me. Hence the wee wire mesh. I'm trying to protect some of the plants as they come through until they get up, but I'm going to have to find a solution to this. Oh, I've just spotted here some of the Fritillarias coming out. Meleagris, that's Fritillaria meleagris. Some later corydalis, and all sorts of shoots popping up and poking through where the pigeons aren't trampling. Fortunately it's just a small area, so I am trying to think of how I resolve that, and I think it might just be to accept it and find another bit of landscaping, move some of the plants out of there. Well, that was always what I wanted to show you, was this side of the bed. We've got the anemone ranunculoides as the main part of ground cover. It's going on there with erythroniums to come through it. So let's head off. Sorry, I must remember to spin round a bit slower. The cobble bed, we've got the bigger daffodils, a few of the bigger daffodils we've got. They're not the huge ones, but they're smaller of the large ones, if that makes any sense. But from these positions we can see all sorts. We can see up to the Fritillaria imperialis, the crown imperials. We'll get closer to them in a minute as we walk round. the troughs, a bonsai larch, just green coming out on it. The Primula marginatas have been out for a while, and the early ones starting to go over. The Saxifraga marginatas there as well. If I come round this little saxes here on their own little mountain top, and if we look up the garden we can come round to see some of the erythroniums that are out. So these are Erythronium hendersoni. The deep purple. Another group of them there. So Erythronium hendersonii and some revolutums. And again, even in these frames where the plants are growing in plunge baskets, we allow the Corydalis to form a ground cover. This bed I probably showed you earlier, and I've no doubt you'll see plenty of it in coming weeks. One of the main Erythronium frames. Masses of buds to come. And again the Corydalis growing there. Around there in the rock garden bed there's lots of blue. Mostly Scilla roseni over there. If I spin round to one of the more working type frame, you can see the baskets just sitting there with seedlings of Erythronium revolutum. Here's a nice group. This is seedlings of Trillium rivali, and you can see the range you get. There's nice spotted ones. A whole range of Trillium rivali, and down there underneath where I didn't collect the seed last year, all the seedlings germinating right there. There's another pot here, and then we've got various of the Dicentras. The bed with the Hepatica and the Corydalis. The Corydalis are really pushing up, but the Hepatica flowers come up over the top and they push up. And here's one of the early Hepaticas that flowered early, is now coming into leaf. But round here we have the Fritillaria imperialis that all got knocked over in the snow. Heavy snow we had the other week. But they've twisted and turned and they make their way back up again. A lot of foliage growth in there, but there's a lot of plants still to come up through. I can see Corydalis nobilis there, a lot of Erythroniums in bud. There'll be alliums and all sorts. Round here there's Trilliums, peonies, Peonia modii. Erythroniums. This is a hybrid. And they picked the yellow Erythronium tuluminense. The cardamines, they're great plants for putting into areas where other plants will struggle, so deep shade. They're very easy to move in the autumn. Just dig up a bit of root and put it somewhere else and it'll come up. And there's more Trilliums in there. You can see Trilliums coming through. But the Crown Imperials are wonderful, and I mean I really like looking up into them. This camera is not going to be able to do that because the sky's got to bleach it out, because I don't have that control with the exposure. The paths are come down. This is the gap between the paths. And this typifies what we like in a garden. We just, things seed. If you look here, you can see seed pods of Galanthus narcissus, Galanthus snowdrops lying on the path. Well, they'll seed, and they'll seed around. And we get all sorts of stuff seeding. If I just come round to this bed the other side, we can see the Scilla rosenae, these lovely blue flowers. If it gets warm, which it doesn't often do when they're up here, these flowers, they reflex much like a miniature blue erythronium. So it's quite good that they're growing here in the bed with erythroniums and other plants. You can see the Meconopsis starting to come into growth as well there, the Meconopsis leaves that I've seeded in. And then up the back we have more anemone. In the more difficult areas where other plants won't grow, we're in the dark shade here at the back of one of the beds next to the hedge beside me, where there's ferns in the hedge. These ferns still got their old fronds still. Within the next week or so I'll cut those old fronds off to allow the new ones to come. Up here we've got some of the, in the back, some of the rhododendrons that are in flower. And once again we've come out into another bed with erythronium and fritillarias. There's some Meleagris coming out, but there's a lot of other fritillarias in here that will come out. And just the tapestry of foliage and ground cover. I mean, just look at all the... So we've got Dicentra, Cucularia. This is one of the anemone, Nemorosa. These, I don't normally like these sort of mutated, where the flowers have mutated and become like little leaves. But this one works well in this tapestry, so I don't mind it. With the remains of Corydalis, erythroniums coming up, and there's a lot of trilliums to come through in this bed. The trilliums are seeding around in here as well, so they all grow happily as communities. More of the cardamom here. I'm getting sung at by a little robin. There's two. There's another one over there. Maybe not me they're singing to, they're maybe singing to each other. See the lovely spiky fan-shaped foliage there, Veratrum. And over there, if I can get over the spikes of Podophyllum. And this is what's great, we see all these spikes and weird things pushing up through. So this fritillarias and lilies and all sorts of stuff coming in. And every time, although we originally planted or allowed the plants to seed, we don't know for sure what we're going to find when we come out. So walking around the garden for me, and this is what I wanted to create, was like walking in nature. Where things surprise me and I'm looking and I find things. Some things you want, some things you don't want. But in this bed I'm seeing, coming up, I'm seeing the Erythronium sibiricum getting eaten by slugs there. I'll have to come out and search, see if I can find them and at least get rid of a few. You'll never get rid of them all. This bed, the early, just coming, erythroniums, just starting to come. They're really just wakening up. There's a whole lot more to come in this area. It'll be a sea of pink. a bit later in the month and into as we move into May. Getting down there, it's all repeated, the garden. So there's ground cover, the ground cover varies. Different plants in different areas. Here we have under more rhododendrons under the trees. And in the deep shade that we opened up, and I'm pushing plants that will tolerate that deep shade at the base of trees, pushing them right back, seeing how far into that shade we can get growth. That's the rhododendron, Dendrocaris there, just started to come out. Down here we have some of the little lilies here, and tiny Trillium Hibbersoni. There's another Hibbersoni here, and here's Trillium rivale starting to come and open. And that's what it is, it's like searching around. So there's a lot more of the Erythronium sibiricums are really just starting to come out. And there's Erythronium americanum in there as well, mostly just the leaves just now. Sibiricum there, Hendersoni with the Corydalis. But there, these are, I'm always fascinated when these come through first, the leaves, the buds and leaves of Jeffersonia dubia, and there next to that Fritillaria is a Biphylla. We clump here, I'm just seeing in amongst the tiny foliage of Erythronium americanum running, we've got Cornus suecica, the tiny cornus coming through. And up here we've got some more of the Trillium rivale, Trillium Hibbersoni those are, sorry. And they're getting eaten a bit as well. I must come out and do a bit of a search, because as the flowers waking up, so do the slugs and snails. My Trillium rivale cascade in wall is coming on really nicely. I'm really pleased with it. You can see them growing in the crevices and the cracks as you come down the wall. These are, I do watch, I won't let everything grow, so here we have some Welsh poppies. I won't encourage them in the wall. Erythroniums I don't mind, and we've got snowdrops in the wall. There's another group of Trillium rivale. We come round. So you can see Trillium rivale is a crevice garden plant. And there's a group of Trillium rivale on the top, and its offspring being encouraged to spread right down the face of the wall. Primula marginata, a larger leafed, larger flowered form. And here we have another cluster of in-crevice plants growing in the wall. We've got Trillium rivale and Erythroniums growing together. Little rhododendron cephalanthum, some of its flowers damaged a wee bit with the morning frosts. More Trillium, there's Trillium rivale and a Trillium, possibly Kurubayashi. But I think I'll stop now before my battery and this camera runs flat. Thanks for walking with me. I'll be back again in 2 or 3 weeks when there's probably will be more of the erythroniums that you can see coming. Will be out then. There's so many more to come. So if we move into just that group there, Trillium rivale and erythroniums featuring now and will probably feature in the next time I'm back. So thanks very much for walking with me, and goodbye for just now.